Okay, welcome everyone. We'll get started in just a minute or two. Right now, we're just letting people get logged in. I see we're still getting a few here and there, so if you'll bear with me, we'll start here in just a minute. I do see at least two more in the last minute. But I know that a lot of you are under a time crunch, so let's go ahead and get rolling. You'll probably hear a beep here or there. A couple of logistics to start. I will send you a link to a recording of this presentation, so there's really no need to take intense and copious notes. Also, if you do have any questions, please just chat them into the box below the presentation, and I will address as many as I'm able to at the end. If I don't get to your specific question, really not to worry. Someone from my team or I personally will follow up with you to make sure your questions get answered. So, again, for those of you who are just joining us, hello. Thanks so much for tuning into this webinar. I'm really excited today and pleased to be talking with you about the importance of protecting your business against negative buzz and how to manage your online reputation. So let's go ahead and get started. So folks, it's time to face the harsh reality. People are talking online about their experiences with local businesses. And as you can see, they can just be unsparing. They can be savage. They're not going to pull any punches when it comes to bad service. On this slide particularly, you can see how a one-star review of a restaurant in Denver, Colorado, and this one is actually less hostile than some of the others I was considering showing you, but it's still really bad. Basically, imagine if someone took to the web and took the time and told the entire world to avoid your business. It happens every day, happens all the time, and that's why reputation management is so important. And here's another one-star review from a Google Places page with the classic all caps. It says, "You couldn't have worse service if you tried," with stars around it. So obviously this person was incredibly fired up. Worst experience he's ever had. He gives it the one-star rating. And just as important, at the bottom of the review, you can see how 3 out of 3 people found this review helpful. And that right there in a nutshell is why reputation management is so important. If I'll tell 3 friends and they'll tell 3 friends, and before you know it, you've ruined your reputation. We'll explain so much further in just a minute. And here's the scary part. Most small businesses have no idea what people are saying about them online. They aren't monitoring the important directories and review sites, and they aren't managing the conversation. They're not using new social media platforms to promote their good name, which means that any and all negative reviews and brand damaging complaints are going unanswered and unaddressed. Okay, so here's a maxim that most of us understand intuitively. It takes forever to build a good reputation, but only a second to destroy it. I think this is worth repeating because, if anything, the stakes have gotten much higher in the information age. In our hyper-connected world, news travels fast and far. Good news, bad news, and everything in between. And that news doesn't necessarily vanish into the ether after a few days. Instead, it gets stored on a server someplace where it's just a Google search away. That's why it's so important that we're constantly checking our information, however it is, whether it's on Google or Yahoo or Bing, wherever somebody might be creating bad buzz, bad publicity about your business, we always have to be in tune with what people are saying around us. It takes forever to build, 20 years, 30 years to build that good reputation. Seriously, seconds to destroy it. You have to make sure you're constantly in tune of what people are saying about your business. And when I say the stakes have gotten higher, here's an illustration of what I'm talking about. Damage to your reputation isn't an abstract thing. It has real effects on your balance sheet. In November of 2011, the Harvard Business Review published a study on the impact of online reviews of local restaurants. The authors of the study found that a difference of 1 star in the average rating of the establishment led to a difference in revenues of 5 to 9%. Think about that for just a second. That's a significant impact on a business, no matter what size. So you might be wondering, why do online complaints matter? How could a star rating have such an outsized impact on my business's revenue? Well, here's the simple answer. People put a lot of trust in their social networks. 90% trust online recommendations from people they know. What's more, people put a lot of trust in total strangers. Almost 3/4 will trust reviews from people they've never met. This is the great double-edged sword of the internet. Positive word of mouth can be like rocket fuel for a company, propelling it into the stratosphere ahead of their competitors. But on that flip side, negative word of mouth can be like sugar in your gas tank. And here's the rub. Folks, the web has a long memory. As I mentioned earlier, Google never forgets, which means that negative reviews can haunt you for a long time if you're reckless with your reputation. So, okay, this presentation is not about scaring you. Well, it's partly about that, but it's mostly about giving you some guidance in terms of how you can protect the delicate and scarce resource that is your online reputation. So not surprisingly, an entirely new field has emerged to deal with reputation issues arising from our wired age. It's called online reputation management. And it's a mixture of old-fashioned PR principles and newfangled internet marketing techniques like search engine optimization and social media marketing. And it's as much or more about being proactive and protecting your reputation as it is about being reactive when it's threatened. So let's drill down further into this concept. Here are some of the key components that comprise online reputation management, or ORM. First, ORM is about creating standard operating procedures that aim to prevent mishaps and minimize them if they occur. Second, a huge part of this process is ongoing promotion and content creation. It's not too much of a stretch to say that in the information age, every business has become a publisher of sorts. Or actually, I guess, storyteller is a better metaphor. A business is responsible for telling a story about their brand. This story doesn't end until the business closes its doors. So it's imperative that you try to shape and manage your story. Now, it's not possible to totally control the narrative, but you've got to try your best to keep it on the right trajectory. Third, part and parcel of telling your story is maintaining an active role on the web. And today that means participating in the social web. Now I'm talking about Facebook primarily, but also Twitter and YouTube and LinkedIn and other channels that make sense for your industry or niche. Fourth, building relationships is another important element of online reputation management. It can be as basic as providing good service, but it's also about maintaining an ongoing dialogue with your market. What's more, it's absolutely vital to build relationships with key influencers in your niche. And not just your customers, but also your suppliers, your colleagues, competitors, vendors, and local media outlets. The final element of online reputation management is reactive. In other words, how you deal with negative buzz that threatens to derail your brand. You'll note that it's a small piece of the overall ORM puzzle. Many people think online reputation management is all about fixing your SEO problem or getting a bad review removed from a directory. In reality, reputation management is about taking proactive steps so that you avoid these types of issues in the first place. That's perhaps the most important part, is this proactivity. Make sure that these problems don't occur, because once they do, it's much tougher to remove a bad review than it is to prevent that review from ever occurring in the first place. And we'll go into that more here in a minute. So here's a key question to address up front. Who needs to engage in ORM? Well, the short answer is everyone. People are talking about you online. Keeping your head in the sand isn't a viable strategy. It's a terrible strategy, actually. And every organization, indeed every individual, has got to pay attention and proactively manage their brand. Of course, there are some businesses that rely on their reputation more than most, like those in the food service and hospitality industries. Likewise, those who provide professional services, such as lawyers and accountants, well, they live and die by their reputation. So now I want to dive into the specifics of online reputation management, which can be classified into 3 areas: monitoring, managing, and promoting. Let's start with monitoring. Monitoring is all about listening to your market, keeping your ear to the ground. That means knowing what's being said on social media sites like Twitter and Facebook, blogs, search engine results pages, message boards and forums, directories like Google Places, now Google Plus Local, Foursquare, and Yelp. And lastly, those key influencers present in your niche. Every industry has them, and they command a lot of authority. I'd like to recommend some great free tools that will help you effectively monitor the online landscape. They should be in every small business's toolbox. With Google Alerts, you can get email updates on the latest relevant Google results, web, news, etc., on your name, company, or industry keywords. Every business should have an alert for their company name. There's really no excuse not to have one or several of these. They take about 2 minutes to set up, at most. Social mention. This is a neat tool, basically because it does what Google Alerts does, but for social media. TweetDeck is an enormously helpful tool for keeping tabs on the conversation happening on Twitter. Finally, you should definitely have an RSS reader to keep up on all of the important blogs, forums, and media outlets that cover your industry. An RSS reader is a great way to aggregate the content from all of the sites you read on a regular basis in one place, so you don't have to actually bounce from site to site to get the latest news. I suggest Google Reader. It's probably the most popular and easiest to use of all RSS readers out there, and it's free. And here are a couple of screenshots. The first is from Google Alerts in the upper left-hand corner, and the other is from Social Mention. The second pillar of online reputation management is a little trickier: managing the conversation. This piece encompasses the majority of ORM. There are tons of things that fall under this category, but I'll just run through a few of them here. 1. Claim your listings. What I mean by this is claim all public listings of your business on local directories, starting with the most important, Google Places, which is now Google Plus Local. By claiming your listing, you can exercise more control over what gets published under your name. 2. Respond to complaints. Though this one seems obvious, here's the thing: responding to complaints is actually a bit of an art, and it's something to practice and get good at, seriously. 3. Encourage positive reviews. One of the best ways to strengthen your reputation and make it less vulnerable to stray negative comments is to build up a stockpile of evidence that supports your good name. In practice, that means cultivating relationships with your customers and encouraging them to say nice things about your company, your staff, and your products. So, some of you might not be sure exactly what the phrase claim your listings means. So, I'll take a second to explain. On this slide, you'll see an example of an unclaimed Google Places listing. Google Places, which is now Google Plus Local, is one of many business directories that consumers use to find local merchants and service providers. By claiming your listings across these different directories, not only will your business become more visible, you will have more control over the content and messaging that gets published online. Responding to customer complaints and negative reviews is not surprisingly a big part of online reputation management. Sure, tracking and responding to negative reviews is no one's idea of a good time. But here's the thing, it's really effective. In fact, graceful handling of customer complaints can actually boost your standing in your market and help you develop even more customer loyalty. I suggest making it part of your routine to check the important directories on a regular basis and engage the people who have taken the time to write a review about their experience with your company. This is something that a lot of businesses struggle with, but it's so important to make it standard practice to channel customer enthusiasm and collect testimonials and encourage them to write reviews on directories like Google Plus Local and Yelp and CitySearch. That means conditioning all of your customer-facing employees to collect positive feedback when they hear it. And it means thinking up creative ways to make it easy for your customers to submit feedback. Creating comment cards is one approach that has proven to be effective. Okay, the third pillar of online reputation management is promotion. This is the fun part. But here's the thing. A lot of businesses are wary of the web, and social media in particular, because they can't control what's being said. But I'm here to tell you, the social web is an amazing resource for every business, and you're absolutely crazy if you're not using it to its fullest potential. Sure, you can't control what's said on Facebook or Twitter, but here's the good news. You can control what you say about your company, which means you have the power to influence the conversation. But you've got to get out there and make your voice heard on a regular basis. Passivity isn't an option anymore, and brief spurts of activity won't do the job either. So what does that mean in practice? It means you've got to give this whole social media thing a try. It means you've got to start thinking of your website as something more than an electronic business card, but as a living and breathing member of your PR team. It means going out of your comfort zone and recording a few YouTube videos so that you rank higher in the search results. It means getting over your reluctance to ask your customers for reviews and testimonials. Now, this may seem like a lot of effort, and I know most small business owners aren't exactly flush with extra time and cash, to say the least. But keep in mind that virtually everything you do manage and improve your reputation will also help bring you more customers through your door. It will increase your sales activity, and it will solidify your position in the marketplace and boost your overall profitability. So now that we've covered some of the key components of online reputation management, I want to take a few minutes to introduce a handful of best practices and guidelines that'll benefit every business. So one thing I want to really stress is that online reputation management is an ongoing process that, when done correctly, is woven into every part of your business, but particularly sales, marketing, and customer service. It's not a one-time thing that you do in response to a crisis. Given the importance of your reputation and its fragility, reputation management should be baked into everything you do as a company. Trust me, you don't want to have to come up with a reputation management plan when you're in the midst of a panic. As a well-known public relations expert once said, doing PR during a crisis is like eating healthy during a heart attack. What's more, if you make ORM a part and parcel of your business, you'll be in a much better position to avoid crises in the first place. Here's just one example. Let's say, God forbid, a screed against your company starts to rank high up in the search engines. If you already have a content creation process in place, you'll be in a much better position to ramp up your publishing efforts and push the hostile comments down the page and out of view. In contrast, if you don't have a process in place, the process of diluting that negative comment will be much more laborious and time intensive. So when your business starts to think about reputation management, there will be some hard truths you will have to face from time to time. According to reputation expert Daniel Diermeier of the Kellogg School of Management, most reputational challenges do not happen because of some external event or misfortune. Rather, they arise as the direct consequence of company actions. Okay, that quote was a little opaque, but here's the deal. Sometimes you've got to face some unpleasant realities about your products, your delivery, or your customer service. But facing these truths is the difference between a company that's willing to grow and improve and a company that's destined for stagnation and squandered potential. That may sound harsh, but it's true. Now I want to take a brief moment to draw a distinction between owning up to mistakes with honesty and grace versus going through the motions and saying things you don't mean. Everyone can spot a false apology from a mile away, yet somehow people try to get away with it anyway. So here's a quick way to test if your apology is genuine. Does it contain the word if? If your apology contains this word, you're probably giving a bad apology. Why is it important to know how to apologize? Well, a big part of online reputation management is knowing when and how to fall on your sword. This may sound like it's too simple or too obvious to address in this presentation, but trust me, people and organizations fail at this seemingly simple task every single day. Just watch CNN for 20 minutes and I guarantee you'll see a non-apology. Now to clarify, I want to add that an apology doesn't have to be an exercise in groveling. 9 times out of 10, that's unnecessary and ineffective. But sincerity is always vital. Your business is more than just your livelihood. It's your baby. Moreover, it can feel like an extension of yourself. That's why when someone says something critical online, it can really sting and it can feel like a personal slight. But believe me, bad things happen when you take it personally. I've seen too many cases when emotions get involved and things start to get messy in a public and very unflattering way. Jeremy Stoppelman, co-founder and CEO of Yelp, which is an online directory that maybe some of you have used to find a local restaurant, says, hands down, when I've seen a conflict, it's usually because the business owner is enraged, furious, or personally hurt. Give yourself some time to cool off and engage in a respectful, courteous manner. Think of every commenter as an investor in your company. By providing their input, positive and negative, they are investing in the success and growth of your organization. Also, I want to clarify that online reputation management is not about engaging every critic, responding to every bad review. Not only is that not a scalable option, doing so can make you look thin-skinned. Not every bad review merits a response, especially the ones that are clearly meant to be inflammatory. Your customers will be able to distinguish legitimate reviewer from the hot-headed comments. In other words, don't waste your time feeding the trolls, so to speak. Okay, my goal with this presentation was to familiarize you with online reputation management and give you some guidance on how to protect your business's good name. This presentation is by no means exhaustive, but I hope that you have a clearer picture now than when you tuned in. Since you all are probably pressed for time and potentially reaching your saturation point, I'm going to wrap up here and open things up and take your questions. But before I do, I just want to acknowledge that you may be feeling overwhelmed by all of this online reputation management stuff. Well, just know that you don't need to do everything on your own. We can definitely help you out if you need assistance developing a plan or executing a plan you already have. Just let us know. So it does look like we've already got a couple of questions queued up. So let's start with those. Okay, let's see. So we've got one here. It's from Mary. She says, "What's your position on astroturfing?" Well, that's pretty cool. So I'm glad that you know what astroturfing is. It's not a very familiar or widely known term, but what astroturfing is, it refers to writing fake reviews or hiring a third party to write them on your behalf. So I know some people will try this in an attempt to dilute bad reviews or push them down the page, but I think my position is that it's actually a really crappy idea. I think it's a terrible idea. I think it's bad. It's not ethical, for one thing. I think if you trade your integrity, you end up losing so much in the deal. You also can get caught, and then you'll get punished and banned from the site. If that happens, on Yelp or Google Plus Local, it's a pretty big deal. And so all of a sudden, you'll just lose just a huge, I guess, conduit into your market. So you're going to lose this line of conduction into your market. It's just not worth the risk. And in my opinion, it's especially in review sites like Yelp and Google, they know what's going on. They're really savvy about sniffing out fake reviews, and it's just not worth the risk. I love that you know what it is, but we just certainly don't recommend it. Let's see. So the next question is this one's from Jeannie. She says, "What's your opinion on Klout?" And Klout, she spells it Klout. I'm actually not too familiar with Klout personally. So I know a little bit about it. Klout is a site that it measures a person's level of online influence. And so it takes into account things like number of Twitter followers and number of Facebook friends and stuff like that. From what I know of it, it's a pretty unfortunate development. I think, in my opinion, it remains to be seen whether it's going to catch on. But I see it, as ripe for abuse. You could end up having people use it as a blackmailing tool. I have a huge Klout score, so give me a free dinner or I'll trash your business on Twitter. That's what Klout does. I think it could be truly a nightmare if it kind of goes off. But here's another way to look at it, regardless of your opinion on sites like Klout. The fact is that consumers have a lot of power these days, and they have these powerful platforms to voice their dissatisfactions, and they can reach a lot of people really quickly. So you have to be in the know. You have to know about these types of sites, and so that's why, again, I'm pleased that the people who are tuning in know about this stuff from the get-go. So that's really great. Again, that positive word of mouth can always really help your business, but usually sites like Klout and other kind of forums like that are set up to denigrate the amount of time you've put into putting your business together. So all in all, you just have to be really on the lookout for it. So let's see. Well, those were two of like I said, I know that many of you are up against it time-wise, so let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Like I said at the beginning, for those of you whose questions I didn't get a chance to answer because we're running out of time, please email us at the website that we've given, and we'll be sure to take as many questions as we can from there. So thank you so much again for joining me today. And if you'd like some assistance of putting these tips and strategies into action, we'd always love to help. So please get in touch, take care, and thanks again.